Hello, hello, hello. Hooligan Soccer Podcast, Gameweek 21 leading into Gameweek 22. As ever, with the Qooligan and his goatee there, and myself, Gary Stryker.
Qooligan. And a flaming pinto, ladies and gentlemen, a flaming pinto. Representing anything that you want it to represent.
Yeah, that's a little bit too soon for fire jokes, I think, considering what's going on the West
No.
Coast.
No. This isn't a fire joke. This isn't a fire joke. This is a shout out to the American Museum of Tort Law. All right? Wow. American Museum of Tort Law.
Wow. Is that our first official sponsor here on the Hooligan Soccer Podcast? And do we need to designate that as?
They're not going to trust me. We'll probably be hearing from them by if we're lucky, we're hearing from them by the end of the week on unlicensed usage of their
brands. Yes, wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Qooligan, we are, Thursday today. We are pretty much through most of game week 21.
Yep, only two more to go.
Two more to go. Obviously, we've got the Ipswich-Brighton game and the Man U-Southampton game, which I know you called that you think there's going to be an upset there, and I'm also sort of watching that one with
high potential. High potential for upset. High potential for upset.
I agree. So what we're thinking today, we're going to go through the set of results on game week 21 that have happened already in the Premier League. Transfer window is in process. Transfer window is open.
Yeah.
It does feel like a little bit quiet. There's some rumors floating around as some deals, but there's not been that sort of barnstorming that we've seen in the past. And then what we're going to do is lean into game week 22 and the upcoming weekend fixtures as well, and probably start to touch a little bit on the Champions League. But I think we should do a dedicated Champions League podcast on Monday next week because the big game's back and it's going to get exciting.
Champions League is entering into its critical phase. Last two matches. Oh, it's going to be awesome.
It is
going
exciting.
to be awesome. Yeah.
So why don't we start, I think, at the top of the table, start at the beginning. And I think that
Sure.
Liverpool Forest game, I think let's start there. That was intense. I almost had to sort of take some anti-anxiety herbal medication because it was intense. Watching that game.
Yes, it was. In my mind, that's going into my top 10 matches of the year so far. That particular fixture. I mean, when it happened, because this is the reverse fixture. So they've already played. This is the interesting thing. So you've got two teams in the top three right now, and they're done. They don't play each other anymore, right? Yep. So, and Forest has the better of Liverpool. They have got 4 points to Liverpool's 1. Now that stat unto itself is fascinating, and let's see if that actually turns out to have some import as we get towards the league decision. I don't think it will, but it could. Mm-hmm. Forest shocked Liverpool the first time. Liverpool was better prepared this time, but Forest, they are just remarkable right now. They're in a stretch of form that is just stunning. And attractive to watch, I will add. They're not doing it through cheap blocks and bad tackles. They're doing it through a free form style of play with a joy, a true joy for the sport and a love of the game that shines through. That pass to Wood was picture perfect. On the run, first time, left foot, an amazing finish. I'm going to go out there and say he is the most underrated striker in the world right now.
Yes,
Chris Wood.
Yes,
and not just this year, but I went back and looked at some of his stats historically. This is his 6th Premier League season where he has double-digit goals.
Really?
6th.
Which other teams did he play for? Who else did Chris Wood play for?
Right. Now you're going to make me do. Now you're going to put me on the spot and make me do show my sources. You snarky little no. He has played for. Let's see. He has played for In his career, he's played for West Brom, Leicester, Leeds, Burnley, Newcastle, and Nottingham Forest, right? So that's a lot of clubs.
Yes.
Not all of those clubs were in the Premier League at the time, right? And so he spent a lot of time in the Championship.
Jesus, he's a
2010. From 2010 essentially through 2018, he was in the Championship.
Wow.
Right. But then, so what really started for him was when he was at Leeds. Yeah. When he was at Leeds, when they were it was between 2015 and 2017. He had 43 goals in 2 seasons, which is a great. Yeah. It's a big number. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So, that's got to attract the eye of anybody going, oh, okay, no, that's not bad. So that's 2. Let's call it the Championship. We'll put an asterisk next to that. He joined Burnley and had 4 seasons in a row. 4 seasons in a row where he hit double-digit goals. Then he was injured in 21-22, right? So he was out. He was out with injury, so he only got 3 goals then. But he's back 20. Like last season for Nottingham Forest, he had 15. This season he had 13. He's got 13 and still going.
Yeah. Wow.
That's 6. That's 6 in the Premier League with double-digit goals. There are not a lot of people who have achieved that, right? I mean, obviously we know about Salah.
Yeah.
And he's done it 8 years in a row, and not just double-digit goals, but like sometimes exceeding 20, and he's got the assists too. And there's a lot of other strikers, players, whatnot that do this, but none of which fly under the radar like this gigantic Kiwi. All right. Yeah. I mean, he's the biggest Kiwi that there is in the league, and still nobody sees him.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why.
Well, I think after that stat that you've just flagged, I think he's probably going to have a little bit more attention on it. But that is great research, great stat. Look at that. You're right. Burnley as well in the Premier League, he had double digits, and it's not easy to get to double digits. And even I know 2 of those seasons he got 10 goals as well, which is fine. But yeah, he's just seems to, he's like a fine wine, isn't he? He's just getting better with age, as he is at the ripe old age of, how old is he? He's like 33. Wow, 33 years old.
Right.
Jesus,
I mean, none of what he's done right now is going to translate into a big money payout or a move to a massive club or anything like that. Mm-hmm. He's going to be, but he's loving where he is, and Forest is loving him back, and they're gonna stick with him, and then maybe he moves off somewhere else. But I mean, well done, Chris Wood, on this one, and his finish against Liverpool was a stunner. I mean, it just shows. It showed the class and the quality, because he's doing it with his left, he's doing it with his right, he's doing it off set pieces, he's doing it with his head. He's all over the place. He can be a traditional hold up 9, where he just stands there, grabs the ball, distributes, pivots, and goes. Mm-hmm. He can be that target off that dead ball, or he can be, as we showed here, a fluid, dynamic player on the run against some of the best defenders in the world. Just carving them up.
I have to say, that goal against Liverpool, it almost looked as if it was in slow motion, the way he shot it, and sort of with his left foot. And again, it just shows the skill in a way, right? Because if you can slow it down and just make it look so simple, I do have to say he really is fantastic. And Forest, it's astounding to see how well they are. I agree with you. He probably doesn't, at the age of 33, where he is, you don't go chase the big money move. I think you stay where you are. If you can get Forest into the Champions League, you get rewarded. You'll probably get a bit of a contract, or you get some bonus as well. And then obviously you're going to have I hate to say this and be too cynical, but probably if Forest, assuming they keep this form up, which looks like they will, they're looking really good and looking really strong and confident in going into their games, to stand up to Liverpool the way the form and how dominant and sort of, just ferociously sort of, devouring Liverpool have been. I think, they go into the Champions League, but they generally, what tends to happen is you have second season syndrome all of a sudden, where you have all the extra games in the Champions League. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Liverpool, on the other hand.
I also like to say about Chris Wood, he still goes to every match for New Zealand too. Every international match, he flies back.
Yep. Wow.
He flies back to, I mean, seriously, that's like, of course, he can afford to stretch out in one of those nice seats, but he's still 6'3". I mean, as nice as Air New Zealand is, I don't think they can accommodate Chris Wood's full. You can't like lay out the full way, even in the recline seats, unless they've got a special accommodation for him.
I'm sure he's on their special VIP list, given what he's doing for the country, the club and country.
Exactly.
No, Forest looking really good. Also, who really caught my attention as well, who I think has had a really good resurgence, is Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think he kind of started off as a Chelsea sort of prodigy coming out of the youth academy there. Started quite well in the Chelsea team, and then just kind of like just couldn't get into it, and ended up. I remember there was a period where I think Bayern Munich came in for Callum Hudson-Odoi when he was kind of like really quite hot, and I think they offered big money for him, and Chelsea turned it down. And then he just kind of sort of festered in the sort of on the bench and in the reserves. Forest picked him up for £3 million, I think 2 or 3 seasons ago as well. So if you look at, great bit of business there. He could probably look to get a move and they can make some money for him. But again, at this stage, if you're Forest, like, you're not doing this for the money, you're doing this for the glory, bringing back the glory days to Nottingham Forest. They've already won 2 European Cups or former Champions Leagues. So it's wonderful to see them up there. Liverpool.
Yeah, well, no, I want to get to Liverpool in a second, but I mean, the fascinating thing about Forest as well is, just some of the, other standouts. Alanga, right, amazing, and Matt Sells was phenomenal. Matt Sells saved Forest in that game.
Yeah.
5 saves, right? He had 5 and huge saves right at the end when Liverpool finally woke up and said, "Oh, let's go and win this one." And they did their best. They really did their best. One thing I would like to, it's sort of telling that Forest has a player like in James Ward-Prowse who's on loan from West Ham, and he hardly ever hits the pitch.
Yeah.
He hardly ever gets the call up. He can't get in.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how much Nuno is trusting in these. I don't want to call. Listen, they're all professionals, right? But the folks who have flown under the radar, who are suddenly now on every radar. But yeah. Let's go to Liverpool. I'd love to hear your take on how they did.
We were messaging during this game, and we were just talking about the intensity. What was amazing is how Liverpool, as you say, once they woke up and thought, "Shit, we need to actually go and do something here. We need to go and win this." Jota, I really do like Diego Jota. It's amazing that he's not a regular starter. I know he's just come back from injury as well, but it's almost, I'm not going to say a guarantee of goals, but whenever he gets on the ball, you're like, he is going to do something. He makes something happen every time. And so I know he kind of plays in the shadow of Salah a little bit. And as I said, there's injuries, and Liverpool have got a lot of strikers. Nunez, obviously Luis and Gakpo as well. So they are not short there. But he is a really, really wonderful footballer, and I have to say, a wonderful soccer player. But what was interesting is Liverpool just had that ability to suddenly turn on the intensity. And we were obviously messaging, and obviously with you and your refereeing side hustle that you do as well, I was saying, like, how would you feel being able to referee at this level? Sort of, from that referee perspective, it's just the intensity of just the speed and the pace, and it's intense. But Liverpool, they grounded out. Yeah, I think Sells, the Forest goalkeeper, definitely kept Liverpool out and sort of in the draw. But again, Liverpool just marching on. They'll take the draw against obviously sort of a top 4 competition. That's fine as long as they don't lose points. They're fine, and they're still in good shape. So I have to say, I think
credit to Arne Slot who made the substitution for and put Jota and Tsimikas on, and they scored within 22 seconds. 22 seconds after touching the pitch, they scored. Those two, right, that came on.
Assist and a goal. Yep.
It is really. Arne did a fantastic job on that. He probably gave him some stick in the locker room in the first half.
Sure.
I'm sure Van Dijk was not pleased at the performance. I don't think he could have been terribly upset at the Wood goal because it was like, that a goal of that quality, it just happens. But they did. They did come back. It was not a rollover, right? They didn't roll over. They didn't wave the white flag. They brought everything, and Forest just managed to hold on. I can't speak enough. I do not have enough superlatives for just how exciting that match was. It was truly wonderful.
How amazing. You get excited about watching a 1-1 draw in a game, right? But again, it's the game itself, isn't it? It's just the intensity. It was just fantastic. Yes.
A good draw is a lovely thing.
if you had to make a decision now for manager of the year, would you go with Arne Slot or would you go with Espirito Santos?
No, I'd have to go with Slot right now.
Yeah. He's kind of over delivered and exceeded expectations.
No, and that's only because look at what he had to live up to, right? I mean, you're comparing him against an icon and a legend.
Yeah.
I mean, who the hell are you comparing? Who are you comparing Nuno to?
Well, I think just in terms of how far he's taken them, it's definitely been impressive. It has.
Oh no, he's been fantastic. Yeah. You know, no doubt, but dude, we're talking about Steve Cooper, okay? I mean, a good manager, but Nuno to Cooper, it's Slot to Klopp. I'm sorry, Slot's going to win that battle every time.
It's true. So the other one as well, which the other team that have also suddenly really caught my eye for sure, is definitely Newcastle. They really have sort of found this vein of form and this revival. Isaac, their striker, I think he scored now his 8 Premier League games in a row. I think he's
Isak, just in case you're curious.
Isak.
Yes,
Isak. The Swedish striker, he is looking really good, and they are really sort of showing up for him. He's really showing up for Newcastle. They're looking very strong. I think they've got the best form at the moment over the last 5 games of 5 straight wins. So that obviously puts them fairly in sort of 4th place and sort of looking quite good. Newcastle, they just I don't know if he's sort of changed anything particularly on sort of the tactical side of things, or they've just sort of gelled and sort of come together a little bit after they went through a bit of turbulence, but Newcastle really did look very, very comfortable. Obviously, against a Wolves side that against they played Wolves, I believe. Yeah, they played Wolves. So
they did play Wolves. And listen, Wolves had done very well. They had they had 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss in their last 5 games, which for Wolves is an incredible run of form.
Yeah.
But no, they ran into the Newcastle meat grinder, and that was that. I mean, there was nothing they could do, and you nailed it. It looked easy for them, right? Yeah. I was watching that first half. Gordon and Isak were making connections and doing stuff, and I said, man, if they do not get in the way and disrupt this chemistry, it is going to hurt them. Of course, Isak then takes the ball and manages to toe through like 3 Wolves defenders, okay, fine, good, thanks. But no, those 2 are just silky. They're like communicating, right, without words. It's all this fantastic mental communication. They're all on the same page. No, I mean, listen, if Newcastle continues on this form through the end of the season, Howe could be in the running for manager of the year, because considering how abysmally bad they were in October, they were not good. Like, they were really not good. They were unpleasant to watch. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a great turnaround. Mid-season turnarounds like that are, it's like you can say, all right, end-to-end is good managerial stuff, but trying to make those mid-season turnarounds without adding any new players. Without any change in the chemistry or any new additions. That also shows some great skill.
Good management and good skill.
That's correct.
Speaking of no new players, Manchester City. Was that Brentford sort of master stroke, or was it Man City shooting themselves in the foot?
No, it's the latter. Mm-hmm. I mean, Brentford has to have the quality to bring it, and
of course,
to their credit, they did not give up.
Yeah.
They didn't. They were like, no, we're at home. This is our castle, right? This is our castle. We can't roll over like this. They did, and they didn't. They stayed, right? They stayed focused. But no. Listen, City are not themselves. In other words, they're not the city that existed. The city that we have grown to expect is no longer there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. Well, yeah, definitely this season it looks to be a write-off, and whether they get into the top 4.
And okay. I mean, every every regime topples, everything fails, right? Every empire crumbles. It's where it goes. I'm not saying it's the end of the world for City. They're still doing, they're still very strong. They're in, what are they in now? 8th, 7th? I can't even remember.
Sixth place. Yeah, they're in 6th. And
they're better than that. Well, there you go. But no, they're not. They're no longer the relentless winning machine that they were before. It begs the question, right? I mean, it almost had a degree. We speak of it. We like to make fun of Tottenham and with their Spursiness. Everybody goes, "Oh, it's Spursiness," right? Well, there are some new Spursiness candidates out there.
Yeah, the Manchester City meltdown.
Don't get me wrong. Spurs are still the king. All right, they are the kings of Spursiness. Nobody can out-Spurs the Spurs.
Yep.
But we've got 2 other candidates that are getting pretty close. Would you like to guess at what that second one is? Well, if City's won, what's the second one?
It's going to be the other side of Manchester, isn't it? Is the Manchester?
Oh, Gary. Oh, no, Gary. It's your Chelsea.
Well, that is. Well, let's
all right, maybe that's a little bit too needling.
That was a cheap shot. That was a cheap shot. I will say that was a very cheap shot. It was. They definitely I think they've kind of done the inverse of Newcastle, right? They got off to a really good start at the beginning of the season, and then just sort of as they got into the crucible period, they've kind of done the opposite of Newcastle, where they've just started to come undone a little bit. If you look at their form, the last 5 games, they've drawn 3 and lost 2, right? So that is that form has to turn around. That first goal that Chelsea scored with Cole Palmer, you looked at it and you just thought, okay, they're back. That's the sort of classic Chelsea. And then just out of fucking nowhere, I just do not understand how it's how Bournemouth were just able to come back and just score 2 sneaky goals, right? It's a sneaky goal. Chelsea looked so exposed at the back, so weak. They needed a goalkeeper. They've pulled back Trevor Chalobah on cancelled his loan from your beloved Crystal Palace as well. We saw that, so he's going to be back because they say there's a defensive crisis.
Like a petulant child taking their ball and going home.
Yeah. But
they're like, "Well, we want Trevor."
Well, they need him.
Take him.
They need him, that's for sure. So
yeah, I know.
Back.
Yeah,
fine. Yeah, so they look good, but I agree. And Sancho's looking very good. Jackson, he was looking okay. I'm not the biggest fan of Nottingham.
Still can't hit the net though. Jackson still can't hit the net. Now this time it wasn't because he kept missing all the time. There were blocks and there were saves, but still
there were blocks. But he's costing the team points. Yeah. They definitely need to find a sort of another relief striker for him because he can't carry the sort of the front line all on his shoulders, and it seems like they're not able to do that. Yeah. So
no, and I mean Chelsea. I'm not going to say. I will never ever say that. Well, no. Strike that last statement. I think Chelsea actually got lucky.
They did
in this game. They did. I don't want to take anything away from Reece James. He struggles with injury. He's had a hard go. Great for him to come back, be given the trust on that free kick to execute with that quality. That's 2 thumbs up, man. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But they got lucky.
They did.
They got lucky on that.
Yeah. They kind of, once they went 1-0 up, they sort of it seemed like they took their foot off the pedal a little bit. But yeah, I agree. They've got to sort of turn that around.
I think Bournemouth just stayed with their foot on the gas and believed that they had enough road to be able to drive home. And listen, Semenyo is one he's a sneaky player. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, it's the sense that the way that he ran into the box and got that defender to just lean on him, that's class, right?
Yeah.
And then of course his finish was was just absolutely spot on. It was gorgeous.
Beautiful. It was beautiful. I did feel that foul on Cucurella was definitely, for me, it was a red card. I know you probably don't have the same opinion, but it did look a little cynical. It didn't need to happen, raising his hands. But there's many other
in real time, Gary. I absolutely 100%. When I watched it live, I was like, oh yeah, because it looked either like a clothesline or a hair pull.
Yeah.
Right.
You didn't need to do that. Yeah.
And no, I'm not going to call into question the necessity of the foul. Let's just look at, right. I'm not going to say that it was a completely egregious and blown call because he did not see it or make the call in real time. Right. The referee, it was after the ball had stopped. It was a VAR coming back and asking him to look at it. Mm-hmm. In the VAR transcript, because you can hear what's going on from the VAR booth to the referee. You cannot hear the inverse, right? So the referee is muted so that nobody can hear what they're saying. But they said, go and have a look. There's a potential thing. It's your call. Yeah. They gave him the authority. They weren't coming in and saying from the booth, this is what you need to do. They left it up to discretion. He looked at it. He determined that he got the chest first. Then it dragged up. As Cucurella slipped down, it went up to his head. Fine. If that's the way they want to call it, and that's the way they explain it, that's a yellow, not a red. Right? That's just the way the rules are. It's like, you do it here. It's reckless. He slides in. There was a lot of people making an argument that if it was not Cucurella, it might have been a red, because Cucurella has a reputation
of over exaggerating these things, doesn't he? And the reaction to it as well.
On both sides, he is known for instigating and being overly aggressive on his tackling, and he's also known for displaying if one wanted to go there, I'm not going to go there and say that it's it's part of his Iberian temperament or anything like that. That's inappropriate. No, but I think that's just his personality, right? That's just that's just who he is. He's wired as a human that way. Fine.
He's a shit.
Either way,
shithousery, I think, is it? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
He's one of those players. If you're not a Chelsea fan, I can understand how you really don't like him. But as a Chelsea fan,
you want him on your team. Yeah. You want him on your team, but you hate playing against him.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah. So Chelsea need to have some work to do, and we'll see what happens in the transfer market. I don't know sort of how much money they'll get to spend. They'll probably have to sell before they can buy. Incidentally, did you see as well that the FA announced that they will be not taking any penalties or any actions against any clubs because of FFP infringements? So everyone sort of survived. Did you see the news that came out there? So everyone's clear.
I was wondering when that was all going to come out, because there was a lot of anticipation, because the PSR reports were all due. They were all expected. So it looks like everybody got a clean sheet. That's great.
Everyone
now we should start seeing. But I think that's really the main reason why the transfer window has been so quiet. Because people really wanted to see what was going to be coming out of that. I mean, listen, Chelsea is also being investigated, though it is not likely they're going to incur any penalty for a bunch of secret payments that were made during the Abramovich era.
Yes, I saw this.
Which Bowley and the Clear Lake folks, it is Clear Lake, right? Did I get that right?
Yes, Clear Lake.
Okay, so they actually self-declared when they were doing their diligence. They actually said, "Oh my God, we found these things. You need to know about it," which is probably the reason why they're not going to end up getting penalized. Because if they had covered it up, and then somebody had found out about it, that would have been bad. To be fair,
they didn't do
I don't have any love for Clear Lake or Bowley, but they don't deserve to get punished for what the previous owner did, no matter how nefarious it was. That wasn't on them.
Yeah.
And so if they did the proper thing and disclosed it, it's okay to skate by. I don't have any issue.
No, I think they did the right thing. They did the right thing there, which is coming together. There's still these city charges lingering out there as well. I don't think anyone has a clear line of sight of when there's going to be news, what's going to be happening. There's been some rumor mongering on socials that apparently there will be a penalty coming down and quite a significant points deduction that would potentially relegate them. But again, that's still a little bit unclear. But I think we're just speculating purely at this point as well. So yeah. But I agree.
I'm not contributing to that rumor mill.
Yeah. Just
I know what I would like to see. But
that I think the other interesting thing as well, which is probably worth sort of noticing, and I agree with you, is the why the transfer window has been so quiet is because of all these FFP. It suddenly seems like it's a new feature of the league where around this time in January, at the beginning of the year, basically sort of when the shit list comes out as well, it will be a new feature of who's been stung. But also, I think what tends to happen as well is everyone's sort of negotiating at the moment in terms of the transfer market. And what you'll see is when one big move happens, then suddenly there's a cascading effect, and then everyone starts sort of playing merry-go-round. So someone just needs to break lines and sort of buy anyone. But it seems very, very quiet this season for sure.
And you do have that reality of as the window gets closer and closer, the desperation gets higher and higher.
Yeah.
And so everything begins to go like that as everybody's trying to at least get something.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And there are still players out there that are unhappy and need to move. I'm looking at first of all, clubs that need players, right? Arsenal now with Saka out, and then it got confirmed Gabriel Jesus did his ACL. I've done my ACL twice, and I know, and obviously I'm no professional athlete, which will surprise you, I know, but I'm it's going to take you 6 to 9 months to sort of recover from that. So they are out a striker who wasn't really scores against Crystal Palace by the looks of it, and that's about as far as it goes.
Well, he was great. He was fantastic against Palace.
It was great against Palace. So it's going to be interesting. They're going to need a striker. My sense is they're probably going in for Rashford, because he's obviously sort of it's been made clear that he's not in Amorim's plans. So you just wonder when that's going to happen, and do they want to sell him?
4 weeks ago, I would have argued with you vociferously against that. Mm-hmm. Now I actually have to sort of nod in agreement. It makes sense. Yeah. It actually makes sense. He is a player that fits in that same position and is a known quantity. So absolutely, you got to go for it.
And there is this history of Manchester United and Arsenal trading strikers as well. Obviously, Van Persie to United. Remember Danny Welbeck? Do you remember he went to Arsenal first when he was cut? So I could see that move happening. And then just sort of wrapping up the rest of the game week of 21, I saw Graham Potter. I think you coined it the Potter and his hammers. It's as you said, it sounds like good name for a band, right?
It's my new band name, Potter and the Hammers.
Potter and the Hammers. They came in and sort of did a job over Fulham, which was really great to see. So they all of a sudden have jumped up quite a bit, which is that win was really valuable for them.
I'm not even good, but I'm gonna be very candid here. Fulham did it to themselves.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, they gifted West Ham 2 of those goals.
Mm-hmm. They did. Yep.
Right now the first one by Soler, he still had to finish, and that was an amazing first time. Saw the opportunity, beautiful. That was great. But no, they gifted it. Right. Absolutely. I think you take away one of those things, and all of a sudden it's a very different negotiation. But Iwobi, wonderful. Just what a great game he had.
Yeah, Lord. He did. And then the other new manager installation was obviously David Moyes at Everton. He didn't obviously have he seems to be this manager that keeps going. He's like a sort of boyfriend that keeps going back to his ex-girlfriend in a way. It's sort of like he's done it. This is like his third, isn't it? This is his third stint as Everton manager, I believe. Definitely his second, possibly his third. I need to confirm that. And then did the same thing with West Ham as well. He just keeps going back to his clubs. And
I know.
It's there. I think I think when they signed him, right, they said they want him for, he said they shouldn't be in the bottom part of the table, and I think he'll turn them around, and he's got enough expertise and discipline and knows the club well. The other one, did you see this? I think I shared this with you, that Prince William, who is an avid Aston Villa fan, was in a Weatherspoons pub. And so if you don't know, Weatherspoons is this chain of pubs that basically are low cost and sort of, they're everywhere, and they sort of call it at spoons. So he was drinking with some Villa fans. I don't know if you saw this. He was buying them pints and actually.
I did see it. I did see it. It raised a few eyebrows, but I mean, yeah, good. Go William. I mean, man of the people.
Man of the people, indeed. Man of the people.
Okay.
Indeed. So it was good to see. Villa again, Villa have been sort of up and down, and look, they're sitting and they're sort of getting a bit of a run of form together. So they should be okay. It'll be interesting to see when the Champions League gets back up and how they continue to perform there, which has been solid.
Really, for them, I mean, they want to shoot for Europe, right? That's
yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because those Europe spots right now, I mean, we have a title race going on, but really the division is in that third through sixth. That's
where the action is.
That's where the action's going to be, because it's going to come down to goal differential. It's going to come down to 1 point here, this, that. That's the fascinating spot.
Yeah,
right now.
It will be very tight. And then the other game that we haven't covered, I know you wrote a really good match report on this, is on Arsenal Spurs on the North London.
Yeah, well, I got some thoughts on that.
It seems to me, Arsenal, if you look at their form in the last 5 games, they've won 4 and drawn 1. Very, very good form. Looking at the way they play, it doesn't look like and feel like they've been dominating and sort of playing where they are, which on one hand is a sign of a good team when they can not play well and still get the results and still be sitting in second.
They don't look like champions.
They don't, yeah.
They don't. They don't, all of the good vibes and positivity after that particular match where they said, we should have scored 10 and blah, blah, blah. All of that grandstanding aside, they do not look or behave like a team that's going to win the league.
Yeah.
Forest have a better attitude about winning the league.
Better look, yeah.
They look more likely just from an aura perspective than Arsenal does.
Yeah, they definitely have more momentum, and as you say, with these injuries to these strikers and their star players as well, they are grinding out results. So well played.
Oh, they are, and they're a good team. Again, this is not a dig on Arsenal, who like they win.
Yeah,
winning is what matters, right? But
there we go. Yeah,
one does not want to be a flaming Pinto about it.
And then Spurs, it's I think. I'm beginning to get very concerned for Ange Postecoglou, as I've made no secret of the fact that I really do like him. I think he's a really good sort of just manager. I just love his interviews. He's so candid. He gives you the truth and the honesty, which is really good to see. But losing 4 in the last 5 games and drawing.
Are you a good manager? Are you a good manager though if you don't win games?
No, it's that's it. As I say, I like him as a manager, but I don't think he's not doing well as a manager. Right? He is now Spurs all of a sudden languishing in 14th, just same place basically. Goal difference separates Palace and Spurs.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to mention this. That's all that needs to be said.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think.
If you were in August going to say to me that Spurs and Palace were going to be level on points at this time in January, if you told me that back in August, one, I probably would have been drinking Kool-Aid and said, "Yeah, we're that good and we're going to be that high up." But it's not the case. But I'm still going to be astounded by the fact that I wouldn't have believed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm now not believing it for the other reason.
Yeah, I don't think Postecoglou sees the end of season as a Spurs manager. I hate to say this, Tom.
Not if it continues like this.
Yeah,
and especially if they get knocked out in the next round of the FA Cup. I think they did not play well against Tamworth. They got lucky. Yeah. Tamworth just got tired.
Yeah.
Right. And gee, what a surprise. They all worked full-time jobs, right? They did have Saturday to rest, but listen, that's a team of part-time players who all hold full-time jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they held a team, right, that has infinite X the wage bill that they've got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they held them in regulation. If this had been a proper FA Cup, like with reverse fixtures, Tamworth would have been rewarded by going to Tottenham Stadium and making a gigantic pile of money off of that.
Yeah.
And they got denied that. They got robbed out of that. Freaking Tottenham better be sending them a check for £250,000 to say, "Gee, thanks for that." Come on.
I think they're going to need it all in the transfer window, because they're probably going to have to go and spend some money. I just don't know how you fix Tottenham as well, because they have. If you look on paper, they're a good team. They have a good team.
Well, of course, they're fantastic. They've got amazing talent.
Yeah, but it's not there. So that was, and obviously your beloved Palace with that, great results. Obviously, that looks really good to see. Palace.
That is Leicester is not in good shape right now.
Nope.
Leicester's not looking good. Palace with that moved up with 24 points. We're listen, this is all, it's all in the ascendancy for them. I cannot say that we're safe. We're not safe, but we're in a hell of a lot better spot than we were before going into the Crucible. Without a doubt.
I'm gonna stick my neck out and make a bold call and say I think Palace is safe. I think they're going to be safe, and not because of...
Bless you, Gary. Bless you and your generous heart.
I hope that's there, but not for the reason that they're... Well, they'll do well. I just think if you look at the table, like 2 of the relegation spots are already taken, right? Well, Southampton 100% down. I don't think there's any way that Southampton are turning this around. And then Leicester, Wolves. I mean, again, Leicester 5 straight losses as well. They're sinking like a stone and they're getting cast off. And then Wolves, like if they can sort of pull it together and sort of get up there, you'll see that they should be safe. Again, I think Wolves will probably take it because of the form.
I think Ipswich has a lot to say about that. And I'm still bullish. I'm still bullish and think that Ipswich can actually pull off a miracle and end 17th. I really do. There's any number of candidates that could drop down into 18th.
Yeah.
But if Ipswich just gets a little bit of momentum rolling in their way, like Wolves already got it. Wolves had their bounce. They had their I don't know who's Wolves playing next week, but that's going to make a huge difference. Wolves have to, whatever they do next week, they have got to come back and get a win if they want any hope whatsoever. That's what they've got to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think and so for that reason, that's why I think Palace will be safe.
Oh, they're playing Chelsea. Of course they are.
Oh, there we go. Well, I don't know. Let's not rule. We don't have to rule that one out.
No, but I'm just saying that's not a lucky draw for them, right? That's going to be a tough battle. They're in Stamford, so they're in Stamford. No.
Those games are coming thick and fast. So it's also the other one as well. I mean, the other thing, look at Manchester United all the way down there as well. I know they play today. I know there's a game coming up, but against Southampton, and again, you would expect them to beat Southampton. But as we said, I think we'll both get the feeling here that there's a draw. I feel like there's a draw here. Southampton might be able to sort of sneak a lucky goal here as well. I don't think United come away with 3 points for this one. And again, and because of that, but the same reason Palace are probably safe. I think United, I mean, it's scary to think like we're talking about this, like how far down United are and how,
they're pretty down. They're pretty down.
And if it wasn't for all those slots that have taken as well, I'd be looking at my lips and saying, could they possibly be relegated? But they'll probably just survive. But my goodness, this is really the dark days for Manchester United.
If Southampton could pull off the upset, and this would be the upset of the of the Premier League season, if Southampton was to pull it out, there's trouble. There's trouble there's big trouble in the camp of
on the red side of Manchester. Absolutely.
I mean, I do think, again, like you're talking, they have 23 points. They would have to have a very nasty slide to hit the relegation zone. And Wolves, possibly Leicester, would have to suddenly just go on an absolute run.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling out, you say you have confidence that Everton can go through and doing this. And Everton have proved this is now the 3rd year where they're in a legitimate relegation scrap. They've always managed to keep themselves up. There's a lot of historical pride in. I think they're the only team that's never been relegated out of the top flight, or like they've got some. I think they're the only team that's never been relegated out of the top flight.
Interesting. Right. Interesting. I think
so. Okay. They've got a reason to stay there. A big reason. That's something you can't discount.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I think Everton is safe. So that covers game week 21. Just sort of looking through, obviously, I think we touched on the transfers as well. As I say, pretty sort of all quiet there. I think the only real big transfer news is PSG signing that Napoli forward as well. I always struggle with his name. I know you can enunciate it better than I can.
Yeah, the Georgian kid, Kvishi. I think it's Kvishi. You can also just call him Kvaradona. That's what they call him in Napoli. So that works too. Yeah,
play on Diego Maradona and
absolutely. Because I don't think anybody in Italy can pronounce his name either. His last name is quite a mouthful. It's got at least 6 syllables in it. It's a good one.
Chelsea had a defender named Cesar Azpilicueta, and the Chelsea fans couldn't pronounce his name, so they just called him Dave. And so that's how they went.
Then there you go.
It's not the first time. So looking through game week 22 in the next week. I'm just looking at some of these fixtures. You've got Newcastle, Bournemouth. That will be actually a good game considering the form and the value.
Wonderful game. Yeah,
that would be a good game. Brentford, Liverpool. Again,
Liverpool's going into Brentford, and despite the fact that they're not quite as perfect as at home as at GTEC as they used to be.
Yeah.
I think you got to give Liverpool the edge on this one.
Yeah,
they need a win. They need a win.
They do. Yes, they do.
And this is so they're absolutely going to be coming in with something to prove.
I think so. But also as well, and again, they have a Champions League game the next sort of a couple of days later as well. So I think they're pretty in good shape there as well. So they don't need to sort of. I think they probably want to prioritize the Premier League and just keep that form running and keep those points sort of cracking up. Otherwise, you're going to sort of that gap's going to get smaller.
They are allowed. They're allowed, and I mean, psychologically, you don't want to do it, but they're allowed to slip up in the Champions League thing. They're allowed to drop a game in the Champions League and still finish in the top 8 with automatic qualification. So they've done their, in my opinion, they've done their business in Champions League. They can now stay focused on the title race while trying to balance everything out. Listen, the mentality is win all the time.
Yeah,
and it has to be.
Manage the squad, and this is where it gets tightened. So actually, it's an interesting point. Like, if you ask Slot, do you actually say, look, we've qualified for the Champions League, we're through, do we just play the kids and rest everyone and actually focus on sort of grinding out the Premier League games?
Well, all that depends on who they're playing.
Yes, this is true.
Who are they playing in the Champions League? We're not going to go into it now. We don't want to reveal any spoilers, but stay tuned. Yes. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you've got your beloved Palace playing against West Ham as well, so that will be quite a good game. Actually, sort of that will be a battle.
I think that should be a fun one. Should be a fun one.
That should be good.
I mean, Fulham should be able to heap misery on Leicester, right?
You'd expect that. But Fulham again, just those 2 soft goals that they gave away as well. You'll see
they're not going to do that again. They will. No.
Arsenal Villa coming up. That will be actually a good matchup.
Fantastic.
Real test.
Good matchup.
Very good matchup. Everton Spurs. That's a battle of the bottom third as well. You'll see sort of a new manager against an outgoing manager, my suspicion. Man U Brighton, again, at Old Trafford. I never thought I'd say this, but Brighton, you'd expect them to go and beat United at Old Trafford.
Yeah, got to give the Seagulls an edge.
Forest against Southampton. That's almost not a fair fight, right? That is not a fair fight.
It's not fair.
They're going to complete roll over them. Ipswich Man City. Again, that's not a done deal. Hey, that is not.
Not a done deal. You got Ipswich at home. Now they have not had the best home form, but still, sure. I mean, City crushed them the last time, but
they did. That's true. But
I think if Ipswich can pull off an upset today against Brighton,
it will get them some momentum.
They start going in. They start going in with that. They start going in on that high note, right? They had they did have an FA Cup victory too. So it's like they're that flywheel's beginning to churn for them. Maybe they can, if they can keep it rotating, they might be able to get something out of it. Yeah,
this is true. And then Wolves against Chelsea. Chelsea's form has not been great, and Wolves, well, that could also be
listen, Gary, I'm gonna repay you with that love. That should be that's Chelsea's to lose.
You'd hope so.
Chelsea's to lose.
You'd hope so. Yeah. It is true. This is true. So yeah, we'd hope so. Super. Well, as always, the Qooligan, I think that's taken us around there. I think the other
Mr. Striker.
We want to think about is obviously, I know we're keeping an eye on the MLS. The clubs have started coming back in for preseason. That kicks off in about a month, so we're going to have
training started formally yesterday, and so to be some interesting things. And let's also not forget that the transfer window is still open within the MLS as well. So we're going to probably see some maneuvering there.
Yes,
some maneuvering. It's a while it is a mid-season transfer for the European leagues, it is the primary non-season transfer period for the United States.
Yeah, so for the MLS. So we'll see what's happening. There's some wild rumors going around. I think we saw one of Neymar going to Chicago, which I don't believe. I call BS on that one. I don't think that happens.
That's not going to happen.
We'll see. Yeah, I think the other big one, as you were discussing and you're sharing, is Newcastle. Is it Almiron back to Atlanta possibly?
Miggy going back home.
It's a possibility.
Newcastle made a huge splash when they pulled Miguel Almiron out of Atlanta United. At the time, it was the biggest signing from the MLS into the Premier League and into Europe in general. But I mean, Almiron just doesn't have a home in Newcastle anymore. It's not necessarily through any fault of his own. It's just that they've got all these other players that have come in and are contributing more. So why not go back to Atlanta? Indeed. I mean, he's a legend there. And Atlanta already overperformed in the postseason last season, so you expect him to come on board and for them to do better.
Yeah.
And then some. And then we'll find out about it next week. But I've got another juicy rumor that's coming up, but I'm going to hold it for next week.
All right. Well, more to come.
I'm going to hold it for next week.
Super. Well, I think Qooligan, we've got lots of soccer to be watching, obviously, for over the weekend, and then obviously excited for the Champions League to get back going as well. It's endless and wonderful, and so much to watch. Super.
Good times.
All right, Gary. Qooligan, next time. Speak to you later. Take care.
You got it. Bye.